Good afternoon and welcome to the News Roundup for Friday, November 14, 2025. I'm Bill Thomas, and here's what's happening right now. The U.S. Army accusing a number of large defense companies of charging too much and conning our military into buying loads of extremely expensive weapons. Lawmakers in Congress issuing a dire warning about a number of smart home products linked directly to the Chinese Communist Party, and New York City's newly elected socialist mayor urgently appealing to a number of Democratic governors and asking them for advice on how to best deal with President Trump. Also, Russia bombards Ukraine with another massive drone attack while positioning a military spy ship right off the shores of the U.S. And if you think AI is bad already, check this out. Right now, scientists, they say they're in the process of perfecting a revolutionary new technology, and this one relies on artificial intelligence to actually read your mind. All this and more coming up right now on the Big Roundup. We have a great deal to get to today, and we begin with this. Our nation's top Army official calling out a number of powerful contractors who sell high-end weapons to the U.S. military, claiming that for far too long they've all been taking extreme advantage of our country. Don't rip us off. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, Brother Driscoll, says that for decades now, a bunch of large defense companies have been conning the military into buying terribly expensive equipment when much cheaper alternatives have been commercially available. Don't force us to buy our supplies on Amazon. We might just do it. He claims that by vastly overcharging the military for a variety of items related to fighter jets, missile systems, and more, the defense industry has been ripping off the Pentagon, the Army, and the American people themselves. Folks like producer Davey and me and engineer Jamie and perhaps even you. And I already think I want my money back. Here's an example. The Army points to one tiny helicopter part that cost them $47,000 when they bought it from a government contractor, but which they say that can be manufactured separately and bought for only about $15. I should have been a government contractor. That's where the money's at. Well, thankfully, Driscoll says the party, it's over now, says the system has completely changed, that the military has learned their lesson, and that moving forward, contractors will no longer be allowed to do things like that and swindle the U.S. Army. Right now, the Army's in the process of streamlining their acquisition process as part of a Pentagon push to allow the military to speed up their purchases of new technology. In the meantime, the Army is planning to buy millions of state-of-the-art drones over the next decade, and rather than relying on large defense contractors, they're now looking to partner with a bunch of private companies that produce commercial drones instead. I'm telling you, Amazon, they've got everything. Final thought, and this is the News Roundup Lowdown. Now, to my knowledge, the U.S. military is purchasing agents, and in my estimation, those well-trained buyers, they should make a list of the things they need. You got to do some comparison shopping, find the best deals, and then spend intelligently and accordingly. If you end up on the losing end of a deal, passing the buck and blaming a vendor, contractor, or virtually anybody, that's just an easy way to absolve yourself of any responsibility. It's no different than shopping for groceries, and because the price of beef is almost as much as the price of gold, each of us has to shop around for the best deal. When you're out shopping for a new car, you don't buy the first thing you see. You kind of tool around town a bit, check out a number of different dealers, and you score the best deal for yourself that you can. You know, the way you watch your spending is the same way our federal government should watch theirs. And after all, the money they're spending, it used to be ours before they gently confiscated our funds. And they call that taxes. By the way, at the end of the day, I don't think the U.S. military got conned into doing anything. Instead, purchasing agents, or maybe their higher-ups, failed to practice their due diligence, find the best materials and equipment at the best prices from the best vendors, and then spend taxpayer dollars appropriately. Now, tell us what you're thinking. We're at newsroundupwithbill@gmail.com. And producer Davey, I have to imagine that folks are fuming over wasteful government spending. And what do you got for us?
Yeah, Bill, nobody likes wasted money.
Yeah.
We have Aggie from College Station, Texas.
Hiya, Aggie. Great to hear from you. What are you thinking?
She says, give credit where credit is due. This administration is trimming the fat from our bloated government spending, and the military is no exception.
Absolutely. I think we have a thing called Doge. Davey, you're familiar with Doge, right? Cut out all the fat and all the redundancies and save our federal government some money. You know, it's easy to spend as much as you want when it's somebody else's money, but fortunately, the fix is in. And U.S. Army Secretary, this guy, Dan Driscoll, he's on the job. And fortunately for all of us, this is a guy who is watching out for the company store. All right, moving along, another story concerning the U.S. Armed Forces, along with an urgent warning from Congress regarding the extreme risk of buying certain high-tech items from China. Pay close attention to this one. Nearly 24 lawmakers in Washington now sounding the alarm about a number of smart home products which are currently available to American consumers and which they say are directly linked to the Chinese Communist Party. Yeah, the CCP. They're not a pleasant bunch. And on top of that, they're horrible pickleball players. I've seen their program. They claim that a bunch of popular devices made by a Chinese company called TP-Link Technologies, I've heard of them. In fact, I think I have one of their routers at my house. They represent a clear and a present danger to our country's security. And among those items, they've got cameras and routers, baby monitors, and a bunch more. They say right now there's nothing to stop the CCP from using the company's cameras to spy on us in our own homes, capture embarrassing videos, then use all that collected information to track, also blackmail, and extort American citizens. And to make matters worse, the lawmakers say these high-tech items are also being sold to personnel involved with our nation's Army, Air Force, Navy as well, both online and through the military exchanges. They point out that the CCP, they'll do anything they can to infiltrate and undermine our society. And as a result, they say it's absolutely critical that we don't give the communist regime access to either our homeland or our military bases. So, the congressional group is now calling for a full investigation into the matter, and they're asking the Trump administration to consider banning all of those products throughout the entire U.S. That's a good start. And final thought, this is the News Roundup Lowdown. By now, the bulk of the planet, folks like you and I and everybody else, we know full well what China's up to in their own backyard. They got cameras covering nearly every square inch of their country. They're watching, listening, they're monitoring everything that everyone is doing, and pretty much everywhere. In my mind, that's frightening. It's an enormous overstep and truly a violation of any semblance of privacy. Now, as disturbing as that is, it's apparently not enough, so they're branching out and spreading their wings and potentially spying on a critical segment of our population, members of our U.S. military, in our homes as well, and all while the military personnel are in their homes to make things even worse. Regardless of whether or not it's the CCP or companies in cahoots with that regime, this is not only a violation of our privacy, this could very well turn into a national security issue or even a national security emergency. Now, at this point, electronic devices made in China should be used only sparingly and clearly only by civilians and never by members of our armed forces. These cameras, routers, all the rest, in my mind, even the smart TVs manufactured in China, they have too much potential to harm any and all users, U.S. interests as well. And as we always say here on the program, approach with caution. Now, it's a topic garnering a great deal of attention all over the country, and share your thoughts with us. We're at newsroundupwithbill@gmail.com. Davey, it's all you. What do you got?
Okay, Bill, Manny in Miami, Florida, checking in.
Hiya, Manny.
Manny says these devices and cameras and all the rest are no big deal. We all have them and someone's got to make them, so quit your belly aching.
It's not just belly aching. As I just said a moment ago, you may have missed it. It happened a long time ago, about 12 seconds ago. This is a national security issue. It could turn into a national security emergency. All those years ago, a guy named Alan Funt said, "Smile, you're on candid camera." Well, today it feels like China's Xi Jinping is saying kind of the same thing. His regime's version of that old show, though, however, it's far more sinister, damaging, and dangerous. Think this through. This is extremely dangerous. All right, shift our focus now and take a look at how New York City's next mayor is preparing for his new gig by checking in with a bunch of Democratic bigwigs. Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani reportedly speaking with a number of blue state governors, asking them for their best advice about how to deal best with President Trump. Well, you're a big boy. Figure it out. You wanted to be the mayor. Authorities say that in addition to discussing the best way to approach the president, Mamdani had a long conversation with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. They say the two leaders talked about Pritzker's experience handling Trump's attempt to deploy federal troops in Chicago, as well as how to best prepare for a similar incursion in the Big Apple. Not even in charge yet, and you already sound scared and kind of overwhelmed. You may be in over your head just a bit, young fella. Additionally, they say that Mamdani has been connecting with Maryland Governor, a guy named Wes Moore. They say the two men share the goal of making things more affordable for their constituents, and that they've been discussing potential ways that the mayor-elect can cut through some red tape, radically transform the government, don't forget that term, radically, and stand up to 47, all while he's doing it. That there's some pretty tough talk. Meanwhile, Pennsylvania Governor, a guy named Josh Shapiro, says that he and Mamdani had a heart-to-heart talk about the importance of allowing things to change when it comes to the way things are done. Also reportedly discussed how to repair some of New York's crumbling highways. And President Trump has been highly critical of all three of those governors, calling out both Pritzker and Moore for their ineffectiveness to combat crime. Additionally, he refers to Mamdani as a communist, but begrudgingly admits he may be willing to cut him a break, cut him some slack, and potentially help him out. This is going to be a day-by-day caper. For his part, Mamdani says he has no plans to stop working the phones. Also says he plans on reaching out to the White House before he takes office, simply because his relationship to Trump will be critical to the success of his city. Exactly. So make nice. In the meantime, Mamdani is sticking to his guns, and he's now urging people not to visit Starbucks as long as their baristas continue to be on strike. I'm going to call foul on that one because everyone, in my mind, is entitled to a mocha latte. Final thoughts, and this is the News Roundup Lowdown. You know, there's a guy who ran a mayoral campaign predicated on giving away everything for free. $10 billion worth of giveaways like free buses, free universal childcare, a freeze on rent increases in rent-stabilized apartments, city-owned grocery stores, and this one wants to raise New York's minimum wage to $30 an hour. I'd take a $30 an hour job on the weekend flipping burgers. No problem there. Our mission accomplished. He promised champagne and caviar to the voters with no real plan to pay for it all. And locals, yeah, they took the bait. We'll see how he squirms his way through that debacle. And now he's already reaching out to real grown-ups because he's afraid of the big bad wolf in the White House. And now reach out to all the governors you want. Seek all the advice you can get your hands on. Or try this one on for a size. You're a big boy now in grown-up clothes who shouldn't be asking the upperclassmen for advice on how to deal with the President of the United States of America. Hey, by the way, advance notice if your city is deemed unsafe, Mr. Mamdani, by the White House, and they opt to send in National Guard troops to make the fix and clean things up for everybody, don't fight them. Simply go along with the program. Get along well with the boss. And don't forget to thank him for the assist. It's all abundantly basic. All right, your thoughts now on the new big city mayor who's already batting defense. Drop us a note, and we're at newsroundupwithbill@gmail.com. Davey, who's up?
Okay, Bill, we got a really special message coming in right now.
Okay.
It's from your cousin Larry.
Cousin Larry, who I haven't heard from since 1978, and I think he still owes me $5. I lent him some money for some donuts. Cousin Larry, welcome to the program. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, he's checking in from Bonnie Lake, Washington, Bill,
Yeah.
and he says, Zohran Mamdani, New York City's mayor-elect, has spoken with several Democratic governors on how to handle Trump.
Yeah.
Maybe he should just worry about how New Yorkers are going to feel after some of his social policies affect his own citizens.
Oh, they're going to feel real great. They're going to get all that stuff for free. We just talked about it. You got the free buses. You got the free childcare. You got the city-owned grocery stores. Free, free, free. They're going to feel just great until they figure out somebody has to pay for all the free stuff. Then it's not going to be so great. And by the way, think of how they're going to get that money. And they're already talking about it, taxing the folks who he says are rich, the millionaires and the big corporations. Make them pay for everything. And that's a fancy way of saying rob from the rich and give to the poor. Cousin Larry, always a delight to hear from you. Now get back to work, drive that bus and eat those donuts, but hopefully not at the same time. Safety first. Now, some additional headlines we are keeping a very close watch on here in the News Roundup newsroom. And first up, Russia pummeling Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, with a massive drone and missile strike, sadly killing at least 8 people throughout the country and injuring dozens more. Meanwhile, the U.S. Coast Guard reporting that they're currently tracking a Russian military spy ship, which has been spotted off the coast of Hawaii. Are changing subjects, the U.S. angering China by agreeing to a massive $330 million arms deal with Taiwan that includes fighter jets, parts, and more. The communist regime responding by saying the move gravely infringes on their sovereignty. Your News Roundup host responding to China's response by saying simply, hey, China, get over it. And a spot of good news from right here in the good old USA. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announcing that a bunch of TSA agents who stepped up during the recent government shutdown, they're going to be rewarded with a $10,000 bonus check for their outstanding service. Now to the world of business and a quick glance at a couple of stories causing a commotion in finance, trade, and more. And leading things off, the Trump administration saying they're going to eliminate the tariffs on coffee, bananas, and more from a handful of Latin American countries. And that's in order to lower grocery costs for a number of struggling American consumers. Couldn't have come at a better time. Hey, speaking of food, retail giant Target announcing plans to slash prices on thousands of their everyday household items as they look to make the holiday season more affordable and appeal to budget-conscious shoppers. That'd be pretty much all of us. Among their discounted items, snacks, drinks, home essentials, and a bunch more. Yeah, nothing like cheap Doritos and deeply discounted 6-packs of Dr. Pepper. Also, if you live in a galaxy far, far away, you got to check this one out. Filmmaker George Lucas, he's just set an opening date for September 2026, and that's for his billion-dollar Los Angeles Art Museum near downtown LA. The futuristic structure is going to showcase thousands of items from Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and a bunch more. And producer Davey, where did this low-budget, never-heard-of-this-guy movie director get $1 billion to build this big, giant museum?
Bill, are you out of your mind? George Lucas is one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. He's a blockbuster machine. That's where he got his dough.
For being a movie director, it's like the easiest job in the world. What do? You yell out action, cut, print. It's all the other guys that do all the work. And he made $1 billion. I should have been a movie director. All right, time once again now for a quick gander at the lighter side of news. And what would a Friday be without a story from the Golden Arches? And just in time to celebrate Thanksgiving, yeah, McDonald's are bringing back their legendary holiday custard pie. Never heard of it. Features a flaky crust, rainbow sprinkles, and a creamy, smooth filling. I did see the picture. This is the most disturbing pretend dessert item I've ever seen. And I think they're terrorizing me with this goofy pastry, Davy, to take my mind off that barbecued pork sandwich disaster thing. What is that, the McPorky or something? What do they call that one?
You're talking about the delicious McRib, Bill.
Yeah, they've been hawking that quite a bit in recent days. Look, here's the deal. Pies, they've got cherries, apples, or blueberries in the middle. They've got pecans and whipped cream and junk like that up on the top. And that contraption, it looks like Gerber baby food. It's just nasty. All right, going backwards now from dessert to the main course. Man, according to a new survey, the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday is going to be the most expensive one in our country's history. Survey says that this year, the celebration will cost the average American nearly $1,000 each, and that most folks plan to attend about 3 different gatherings, and that the rising cost is due to the price of food, drinks, also travel, and a bunch more. You know, this is kind of an amazing revelation. And producer Dave, you know what this means? You know what this means, Davey?
No, Bill. What does it mean? Tell me.
Well, let me break this down for you. Thanksgiving at my house, it's going to be a banquet turkey pot pie, a bottle of Martinelli's sparkling cider, and a couple of pieces of Wonder white bread. Total cost of my celebration each year runs about $5, maybe $5.50, $5.18 to be exact. Now, you just said that Thanksgiving is going to cost the average American this year about $1,000. So according to your math and the way I see it, producer Davey, I think you're saying I'm well below average. Thanks a lot, Davey. That's real nice.
Well, Bill, if the shoe fits.
Oh, that's just mean. That's just mean. At least I'm saving a little bit of money. All right, wrap things up now with this one. Scientists, they've just invented a new technology called mind captioning, which uses AI to transform your brain activity into a detailed description of what you're thinking. And they say the process involves combining artificial intelligence with MRI brain scans to decode your thoughts, then turn them into words, and provide a running commentary of what's going on inside your head. It's kind of an odd story because, as it turns out, I also do a little bit of mind reading on the side, a little side hustle. I'm always 100% accurate. And Dave, I can give you a couple examples if we have time. Is that all right?
Sure, Bill. We got a couple seconds here. Let's go for it.
Very good. We'll start with Engineer Jamie. I'll read her mind. Here it is. I can sense it. Okay, Jamie is saying that she says my tie is very lovely, and thank you very much, Engineer Jamie. This is from the Walmart collection. I've had it since 1985. Mind reading. Dave, if you'd like, I'll do a couple examples with you if we have time for it.
Okay, Bill, sure. Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to read your mind. Here it's coming through. Well, right off the bat, Davey, I don't appreciate that kind of language, so clean up your thoughts. Also, no, you can't go home early today. We still have work to do. One more thought's coming through, and well, that's kind of random. You're saying you cheated on your podcast producer final exam when you were at Harvard University. You know, all that matters, Davey, don't be embarrassed. All that matters is that you scored the diploma, and personally, I salute you. And now time for us to call it a wrap on the Friday edition of the Big News Roundup. Pretty impressive, Davey, yes or no?
Oh, Bill, you're humiliating me on the air, but other than that,
but it was fun.
What can I say?
Yeah. All right, before we go, as we do each and every day here on the program, we share with you a very notable quote and these encouraging words. Coming us today from the great Tom Hanks, who said, if it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. It's the hard that makes it great. Tom is a popular American actor and filmmaker who's won a number of prestigious awards, including a pair of Best Actor Oscars, and among his classic performances, Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan, also Big, and all the rest. I'm a big fan of this Tom guy since way back in the 1980s. He is a fabulous actor and a movie star, and he's a pretty nice guy as well. And I loved him on that TV show, Magnum P.I. That was the best, and the fast cars and the ocean waves.
What are you talking about, Bill? Hold it.
Girls.
Wait a second. No, Bill, you're way off there. You're way off base, man. You're talking about Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck is the guy from Magnum P.I. This is Tom Hanks, one of the greatest actors of all time. He's America's modern Jimmy Stewart, Bill.
I did not know there were two Toms in Hollywood. Honest mistake. And now it is time for us to bust on out for the weekend. But before we go, don't forget the News Roundup motto. Ask not what your podcast can do for you. Ask what you can do for your podcast. And we don't ask a whole lot. We simply ask you to hit that subscribe button right over there. And that way you never miss even a single episode. Would it kill you to ask a friend or two or a relative or a coworker to subscribe to the channel as well? Would sure appreciate it. And now our time, it's officially up. Have an awesome day today. Enjoy the weekend as well. Please stay safe. Let's all continue to watch out for one another. And with that, Engineer Jamie, we're going to dim the lights. Let's gently fade to black. Let's segue into that weekend. And we'll see you right back here on Monday afternoon.